Hello again viewers. And welcome to another scary story by Pale Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The Taxi Driver and the Twin Sisters. In a city that never seemed to sleep, there was a taxi driver we will call Jake, and working the busy streets for many years he had seen it all. The hustle and bustle of the late-night city streets, the weary faces of those heading home after long shifts, and the occasional oddities that came with working the graveyard shift. One particularly quiet night, as the clock struck 2:30 a.m., Jake decided to call it quits and head home. But just as he was about to turn the corner towards his apartment, he spotted something unusual at a bus stop. Two young girls, seemingly identical, stood there, their figures barely visible in the faint glow of the street lights. Now, Jake wasn't one to pick up passengers after his shift ended. But something about the way these girls looked, the pleading gestures they made, reminded him of his own daughter, waiting at home. So, he slowed down and rolled down the window, expecting to hear their voices. But there was silence, only their lips mouthing the words, "Please, help us." Against his better judgment, Jake pulled over. The girls climbed into the back seat, their faces expressionless as they silently conveyed their destination. As they drove, Jake attempted to engage in conversation, but the girls remained eerily silent, their gazes fixed ahead as if in a trance. Despite his efforts, the journey passed in an uneasy silence, punctuated only by the hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of leaves outside the car. Eventually, they arrived at a secluded house deep within the woods. The girls got out, their movements slow and deliberate, as if guided by some unseen force. Promising to return with payment, they vanished into the darkness without a word, leaving Jake alone with his unsettling thoughts. Growing anxious, Jake waited for no more than 20 minutes. When there was no sign of the girls or any adult figures, he approached the house and knocked on the door, his heart pounding in his chest. Finally, a lady answered the door, her face twisted in sorrow. Jake tried to maintain his composure as he explained to the lady about the two young women that had just left out of his taxi and how they promised to return and pay him. The lady's expression changed after hearing his story, and she looked very distorted and disturbed. So Jake asked the lady what was the problem, and she began to explain to him that her two daughters, which were basically twins, had died several years back. On the same night every year, a random person would walk up to the house and claim they had given the two girls a ride there. She said that they were reported missing and then later found murdered, their remains dumped on the side of the highway. So their spirits have been wandering the city ever since, trying to get home. The lady asked Jake to wait a moment so she could go and gather some money to pay him for the fare, which had become a custom for her after several years of dealing with the same encounter. However, Jake insisted he wasn't taking any money from her, turned away, and walked as fast as he could to his car, and drove off into the dark woods like a bat out of hell. Trying to block the thoughts of what he had just encountered, he turned on the radio and headed home. Many people to this day still report picking up or seeing these two girls at the bus stop or at random places on the highway, waving for help and trying to flag any unsuspecting traveler down. So if you happen to chance on these twins, remember this story, be safe and follow your gut instinct. The end. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share.